Welcome into Green Dot Daily. I'm Brendan Glasheen, your host for today's program. GDD is live every weekday at 3 Eastern. If you're watching live in the Action app, great to have you. Also live on our Action Network YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Big show, all basketball on today's program. Matt Moore and Jay Money, they are standing by for a game of buy or sell in the NBA. Some hot takes and perhaps some disagreement between those two. More money coming up. And a few looks on the hardwood from Chris Raybon in the association. But first, we dance. The jingle's coming, everybody. These are your current automatic qualifiers based on conference tournament victories. Stetson and the A-Sun. Charleston took down the CAA after being pushed by Stony Brook last night. Oakland finally gets over the top. They are the Horizon League winner. Wagner beat Merrimack. That's near and dear to me, Merrimack Warriors. So proud of them, even though they should have been in the tournament last year. But that's a different story for a different day. And we are sweating out these conference tournaments that are automatic qualifiers to the dance. St. Mary's over Gonzaga last night, too. Welcoming in Charlie DiSturco and Greg Waddell of Field of 68. Great to have you guys joining us for our basketball segment, talking college hoops. Let's do a little game of ugly stepsister. Load of mid-major conference teams. Possible 12 to 16 seeds that you're going to all pick on your bracket, or you're just going to think are going to pull off an upset against a possible 5 seed potentially that can make a run. So I will start with Charlie DiSturco, a team that's actually in action later today in the Southland tournament. Charles, who is it? Who do you got?
Yes, McNeese State. I mean, this team is a freight train from hell, quite frankly. You look at what they've done this season, and they've absolutely murdered everybody. VCU, easy win. UAB blew them out of the water. Michigan, every tough test that they've faced in this non-conference, they've won. And then you go to the conference play, they've absolutely just blown up the Southland. They're winning games handily by 20 plus. Going to do so again tonight as well. A lot of that stems from, Will Wade out there. Obviously, you might have heard his name before. Horrible person, but a great head coach. And Shahada Wells, who is a TCU transfer and an absolute elite defensive point guard. They force opponents over the top and into difficult decisions. A lot of shots from three, but a lot of contested shots. And then this offense is just so talented, so balanced, can space the floor. You look at this line, they're around a 12-13 seed right now. BYU, South Carolina, Clemson's of the world, they're going to be put on upset alert if they draw McNeese State. Don't sleep on the Cowboys. They're well coached. They're a strong offensive and defensive team, and they've made it known throughout this entire season.
Greg, you're not a horrible person, and you contribute to us at Action Network as well. But how do you feel about the Cowboys? You with Charlie on this?
Well, first of all, I appreciate the Will Wade comparisons to me, and they're even deeper because my bags go deep, just like Will Wade's do. This is a very balanced team, as Charlie alluded to. Top 75 offense and defense. Really good shooting basketball team. Like they have a lot of the marks you want to check off for teams that can make a deep run in March. The only pushback at all that I have for Charlie here is he mentioned the cakewalk through the non-con, VCU, UAB, Michigan. Are any of those teams good? I think VCU's decent. I think Michigan's horrible. Honestly, the fact that was a close game at all is honestly maybe not a great sign for McNeese, but you're right. Shahada Wells is awesome. There's a lot of people who are going to pick this team, rightfully so. And I've been affectionately referring to the McNeese State team as the McNeese Geese this year. I know that's not their mascot, but I'm kind of hoping we could get some geese on the television screens come March.
This was, by the way, the Michigan team completely different then than they are now. And fresh off a double overtime game against Florida, the game before playing McNeese, and then McNeese beats them. I understand but Michigan at that point with Kamwa and everyone else that they've had on their team, they went through, an awful stretch, and we don't even have to talk much more about them and how bad they are in the Big Ten, but different team at a different point in the season early on.
Fair.
Greg, your favorite ugly stepsister comes from the Sun Belt. James Madison, the new squad to the Sun Belt. They've won 13 in a row, and you think they can keep this going once the bracket settles?
I do. And first of all, I'd like to start my time by acknowledging the great singing voice that you gave us. That was musical and incredible. Fun music fact about me. I once opened for Chance the Rapper in college. That's a real fact. Look it up. Also, it's on brand for my James Madison pick because you don't want no problems with James Madison. That's the truth. This team wins the three-point battle every single game. They shoot 47% from three. That's 47th in the country. They hold opponents to 28% from three. That's third best three-point defense in the sport. They're extremely balanced, just like McNeese was, top 76 in both offense and defense per KenPom. They're old. I love that. We just watched a Final Four last season where the oldest teams in the sport made deep runs. I think it matters to have a lot of guys playing with desperation that have played 4 or 5 years in their careers. Their starting five has 21 years of playing experience at the college level between them. 3 fifth-year guys. And lastly, Evan Miyakawa has a new opponent adjustment metric where it tells you how good you play up or down to competition. James Madison grades out extremely well in that. They're not going to be spooked by a talented team. Bracket Matrix has them on the 12 seed line right now. Very, very dangerous matchup for any of the 5 seeds.
Your analysis tasting like cocoa butter kisses. Chance the Rapper. I'm definitely going to look that up when the show's over. Charlie, any pushback or agreement on JMU?
I had no idea that Greg had such a beautiful voice. I can't wait to look later too. But
he really hasn't shown it yet, right?
Yeah, that's true. We haven't heard him say it. We don't know if he was in a flop and got tomatoes thrown at him. But I will say the team that won't have tomatoes thrown at them is this JMU team. They beat Michigan State, obviously, but in the grand scheme of things, was that an amazing win? Now that we look at how Michigan State's performed this season, my one concern about this team is the lack of the wins that they've had in non-con. They've not really been tested when you look at who they've played. Southern Illinois is their best win aside from Michigan State. But again, they shoot the ball well. And when you look at March, you want a veteran team. And that's exactly what JMU has. And the spacing that they can provide is definitely something that you should look for. And they ended the season on what, like a 15-game winning streak or close to it, 13. So playing well, trending well into March, well coached. I don't have any problems with it, especially they're going to be on that 12 seed. And me and Greg were talking off air. These 5s are vulnerable.
All right, Charlie, give us your next one. Who's your ugly stepsister that you're also riding into March?
Yeah, I don't really like the term ugly stepsister. I think these are cute Cinderellas that we want to have the perfect slipper to fit on. And Morehead State fits that vibe as well. You look at how they did, at the end of non-con, they lost 3 straight, but that was without Jordan Lathan. And now they have him and Riley Minix playing at an elite level. And we saw them absolutely cruise through the OVC. And one of the things that I like about teams, especially underdogs in March, is they slow the game to a halt. So Morehead State, they like to play at a slower offensive pace, kind of like St. Mary's. They want to beat you with their, physicality and defense. They can shoot a lot of threes. They can space the floor very well. They have 4 guys that are capable in that starting lineup of shooting the 3. And kind of like what Greg said, having guys that can score with at ease. Minix, Lathan, these are guys that can go for, 20, 30 a night. That can be one of those firecrackers that leads to an upset when teams don't have answers. They rebound extremely well. And this season so far, they're top 30 in both 2-point and 3-point defense. And you look at their shot quality numbers, pretty impressive stuff from the Eagles. Top 10 in finishes at the rim, out of the half court, in the pick and roll. They're really hard to beat. And if a team has a kind of an off night against a team that like Morehead that has length, that has offensive firepower, they should be put on upset notice. They're playing as well as they have all season, and now they're in the big dance.
They beat UT Martin. They beat Little Rock to get through. And yeah, you nailed it on Minix. He was excellent in that game, had 26 and 7. They were great on the boards. Greg, you have a little pushback, though, on Morehead State.
I do. Well, before I get to the metric reasons I am against this being a breakout team in March, I just want to start by saying it personally for me. I don't like to pick Cinderellas where I might spell the last names wrong of their stars. This is 2 of them, Minix and Lathan. I consider myself a good speller. I could take 5 attempts for both of those without looking.
You can't spell Minix. Try Minix.
Try. There should be 2 N's in the name. I looked it up before the show. There's not. That's the problem with me. Okay. Now, look, they're a good team. Do not get me wrong. And they do have 2 stars. Both of those guys, you're dead on. They could, one of them could have a breakout performance. God forbid if both of them do, they probably win the game. Back to that Evan Miyakawa number that I love. They have a negative opponent adjusted metric rate for the season. They are much worse against the best teams they've played. They played 2 quote unquote elite opponents, but I think based on where they're going to be seated, they're not going to catch a 6 seed or a 5. They're going to catch a really, really good basketball team. They got blown out in non-competitive games against both Purdue and Alabama. Now, both Purdue and Alabama are 2 of the top 5 offenses in the sport that have way more firepower than some other teams you could catch on similar seed lines to an Alabama. But I don't think it bodes well that we haven't seen them play competitively against a team of that caliber yet. And then just last for me, to beat the best teams, if you really are an underdog in March, to me, you can't be a mistake-laden team. Morehead State is. They turn the ball over a lot offensively, 18% of possessions. That's 282nd in the sport. They also don't force turnovers. So if you're playing against a team that's a lot better than you, they get more possessions than you do. That strikes fear into me if I'm backing you as an underdog, and that's why I can't get behind Morehead State.
I think I'm praying that they get Kansas on this draw, because I think that they are more than live to upset Kansas. Kansas does not force turnovers. Obviously, Hunter Dickinson is a matchup problem, but they have a 7-footer themselves. And then we mentioned the length. Minix is also a good defender, and the entire team, they have multiple 6'7", 8 guys that can play defense, and their shot quality metrics grade out. That's why I trust them against teams that maybe don't have the depth per se, and also the 2 teams that they lost to, and obviously they lost to Indiana. That was an awful loss, but and that would have been a win that I would have liked to see. But Purdue is going, for the most part, to beat up on every single team. They did so in the Big Ten. You talked about you wanting them on the conference tournament on BBOC this morning. They're a freight train from hell as well. And Zach Edey's a matchup nightmare for anybody. So a low-level team to get, if you get a Kansas, I would even say Baylor might be put on upset alert. Some of these teams that can go streaky offensively, and if they go south against a team like Morehead that plays a game to a halt, that is where I think that we sleep on the halt, the slowing it down. Look at last night with Gonzaga and St. Mary's. Now, not the same defense they're not the same defense, but Gonzaga couldn't do anything. They couldn't find the 3 ball, and as soon as that happened and St. Mary's grows a lead, they have the capable playmakers like Minix and like Lathan that can make big shots at the end of the last 5 seconds of the shot clock and separate this league or keep it maintaining at that 5 to 10 mark, which is why I personally think that this team that can spread the floor well is definitely a problem.
Okay, Greg's got one more for us. The Horizon League champion, Oakland. Speaking of defense, 11 blocks last night, and that was a gritty game. Their coach has been there forever, 40 years as coach, and he finally gets over the top. The most active Division I wins at one school right now. So Oakland gets over the top. I don't think they have too many. They got a dude who comes off the bench. I wouldn't be able to spell his name, but the starting 5, you can probably spell most of those.
Yeah, Greg Campy's been there since my father was in college. I'm a Michigander, folks. It's been quite a while here. I have to go to bat for the Rochester-laden Oakland Golden Grizzlies here. I really like this team. They check a lot of the boxes that I'm looking for of teams that can kind of surprise. Now, they're not a dangerous 12 seeds. They're not going to get the benefit of the 5s that we said are vulnerable, but they are projected to be on the 14 line right now. I think if they can avoid the top 2 seed lines, I think that's a break for this team. And unlike Morehead State, what I do like about Oakland is they did play really competitive games every single time that they played a really quality opponent. At Ohio State, at Illinois, at Xavier. They got the win at Xavier outright, but they led for long stretches, even into the second half against Ohio State and Illinois, who's played like a top 10 team in the country since the rest of the season. You just go personnel through this roster. They have a lot of different quote-unquote specialists that can beat you in a variety of ways. Like whatever the defense is vulnerable at, they're poised to take advantage. Jack Golke is a guy who only has 8 two-point shot attempts on the season, but he's a sniper who's capable of pouring in 7 made threes if he gets hot. They have Rocket Watts, who you may know from Michigan State, started his career there, was in the starting lineup for the Cassius Winston Michigan State team the COVID year that looked like they were going to make a run. Trey Townsend is a superstar. Sensational performance last night. The box score numbers are stupid. You add those 3 things together, I feel like they are a team that doesn't need the perfect matchup, but they can almost exploit whatever your vulnerability is. And they do play a slow tempo as well, which when you're looking for an underdog, that's what you want, maybe limit possessions. To flip Charlie's dream matchup on him, where he went with Morehead and said, hey, maybe these teams would be good. For Oakland, for me, I would love for this team to catch Alabama. If I could get a 3-14 game with Alabama and Oakland, Alabama's not good at guarding inside. They're not the most physical team. Trey Townsend is essentially the big on Oakland. That's the problem. They don't play a true center. But if you play a team that doesn't put up much resistance at the rim, that wants to get out and run, that just wants to outscore you, this Oakland team can do that and can frustrate you by slowing it down.
He was good last night. 38 points, 11 boards, 5 assists, and he's at 6'6", 228 as their big guy inside. All right, Oakland. Yeah, they're a good story. That should be fun. One pick for each of you for today. There's games going on as we speak here on the show. Greg, I'll let you go first. What do you got for us for tonight?
I'm going to the Cincinnati Bearcats. Listen, you don't get rich. Nobody on earth has gotten rich fading Bill Self in March, but that's what we're going to do today. I think you have to do this today with Kevin McCullough and Hunter Dickinson, not both just out for this game, but ruled out for the Big 12 tournament. That should signal where this team's mentality is headed into this week. To put it point blank, I don't think Bill Self has any interest in winning this game. I expect him to manage it as such. I think he wants to get home, get his guys rehabbing, get his guys some rest, more importantly, than spend another night on the road trying to compete in dogfights with a Baylor team that wants to make a run here. Let's not minimize how big of losses these guys are either. 36 points, 16 rebounds, 6 assists, and most importantly, 66 minutes combined per game that are going to be missing for these two. This is a Kansas team that ranks 332nd in the country in bench minutes, and that's when their two best players are available. There are a lot of guys that are not rotation players that they're going to need 20 to 30 plus minutes from tonight. Cincinnati gave Kansas a scare at Allen Fieldhouse earlier this year when everyone was healthy. I think they get this win, and I think it's a comfortable win tonight.
Bearcats really do need the game, too. It's a desperate spot for them for their tournament hopes. And Charlie, what do you got?
Yeah, kind of correlated to Greg's play here, but mine's on the total. I like the under 139. Me and Greg agreeing and holding hands into the sunset. That's what you want to see here. Cincinnati shutting down Kansas's offense. You know, Greg said it, almost 50% of Kansas's offensive production is not going to be playing, and their mentality is not in the Big 12 tournament. They don't care. They're going to be in, they're going to be out. The young guys are going to want to come on and play well, but I think that's almost going to hurt them because these guys are not really offensive, masterminds right now. They're still young. They're still learning. And both defenses, which I think is key here, force opponents late into the shot clock, even without Dickinson. I think Parker Brown and guys that can fill in for McCullough will be strong defensively against a Cincinnati offense that isn't that good. Both average 18 plus seconds into the shot clock, and both rebound extremely well, and both guard the two very well. And that's what you kind of want here in this matchup. If you force them to make threes and they hit threes, then so be it. Both top 25 in defensive efficiency, and Cincinnati, they're 300th in free throw attempted over field goal attempted. So they're not going to get Kansas's like walk-ons on this court. I think we're going to see kind of a grudge match, a slow paced game where Cincinnati has more motivation to show up, wins in, maybe like 65 to like 55 at this point.
All right, fellas. That's 9:30 tonight, ESPN2, Big 12 tournament, Cincinnati laying 2.5. Greg's on the side. Charlie's on the total under. Both of you, best of luck in your relationship endeavors with your Cinderellas or ugly stepsisters, whatever we decided to call them. Charlie DeSturco, Greg Waddell, thanks so much, guys, and talk to you again soon. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, guys.
And just a reminder to North Carolina residents, sports betting is live now. And there are some awesome registration offers. Make sure to check out the link in the description of this episode of GDD, or go to actionnetwork.com for the specific offer codes. Let's go to the association. What happened in the NBA last night? We'll start with Celtics and Jazz. Boston took care of business Tuesday. 38 points from Jason Tatum. They beat Utah 123-107. They covered the 6.5-point spread. Celtics have won 3 in a row and continue their domination in the Eastern Conference. Late game on national TV last night. Timberwolves were plus 220 on the money line in Los Angeles. They beat the Clippers 118-100. They were down 22 points in the second quarter, and they made a run. Budding superstar Anthony Edwards, 37 points in the win. credit to the T-Wolves, but the Clippers, I mean, that's quite the giveaway there. Pacers beat OKC, 5.5-point dogs. They beat the Thunder outright, 121-111, 30 points from SGA, not enough for the Thunder. Pacers back in action tonight against the Chicago Bulls. And with that, we are going to welcome in the More Money duo. Matt Moore, J Money, Action Network, NBA contributors. Little game of buy or sell with a 9-game slate on this Wednesday in the NBA. Let's start with a bigger picture topic. The Oklahoma City Thunder, Matt Moore, buy or sell, number 1 seed in the West. They are tied right now atop the West with Denver, but they have that head-to-head series win 3-1.
Yeah, that series matchup, head-to-head tiebreaker, is going to matter quite a bit here. I think the Thunder will be the ones that I'm buying this. They're less injury conditional. If anybody on the Nuggets is missing out of that starting 5, they are not the same squad. Now, they're all under 30, except for KCP is getting up close to it, so they should be all right there. But in general, the Thunder also are probably going to push for this. They've also been a more consistent team than the Nuggets, and we've seen that even recently where the Nuggets had a 39-point lead versus the Jazz, got down to 15 before they closed it out. Then they were down double digits at half to the Raptors, had to storm back in that one. Those are not good teams. The Nuggets are going to take their foot off the pedal a little bit here. I expect the Thunder to push through the end of the season and secure the number 1 seed in the Western Conference.
J Money, buy or sell, Thunder, 1 seed in the West.
Well, I'm going to buy it mainly because I need SGA to win MVP, and I think that they have to get the number 1 seed in order for him to get that. But they're a younger team, and they don't really have a ton of playoff experience. So they're one of the teams that's going to go all in on the regular season. Then after a while, after a few years of getting put out possibly in the first or second round of playoffs, they'll realize that they need to taper off towards the end of the season. But right now, they're not looking at that. They're looking at, like, let's try to get the best possible record, get the number 1 seed. And obviously, they're a young team as well. And so I feel like that they're going to go all in on trying to get the number 1 seed towards the end of the season.
And to avoid Denver in a Western Conference Finals, avoiding playing in Denver for the majority of that series would be beneficial, I think, right? One of the best home court advantages, if not the best in the NBA. Let's go to the East. Here's one for you. The Bucks, Matt Moore, will make a deep postseason run. Buy or sell a Milwaukee. They've won 7 of their last 10.
I'm selling as hard as possible. I did not understand where people are getting to with this team. Look, they went on this West Coast road trip, but they got torched by the Clippers, and they got torched by the Kings. They got torched by all these teams, and that's fine. They're on the West Coast road trip. But if you really kind of pay attention game by game, the chemistry and the continuity is not there. A lot of this, I think, it just has to do with the fact that Damian Lillard never asked to be there. He never asked to be there. And you can tell he's been pretty open about the fact that he's not in a great place mentally. That's not great. You want everybody pulling on the same page. I think it's hard for Damian in the situation. He's trying to make the best of it. He's had some great games, but he's not consistent anymore. He's not the same kind of guy. Finally, their defensive scheme is so vulnerable. They're playing this drop coverage. That's fine when you have Drew Holiday coming over the top of the screen, able to contest on these guys. But they have Damian Lillard doing that now. Their best perimeter defender is Malik Beasley. Are we serious here? They're going to have to face teams like the Knicks with Jalen Brunson, the Heat with Jimmy Butler. They're going to have to face these squads that have guys that punish that kind of coverage. And the Bucks have simply not been consistent enough defensively this season. Everyone's just kind of like, oh, it's the Bucks. They're back there. Giannis has been better than ever. I'm not denying that. But this Bucks team is old. They are old and they are fragile and they do not have a good bench. And on top of all of it, you have Doc Rivers. Why do you want to be buying in on Doc Rivers, playoff coach? I'm out. I'm selling on the Bucks.
Yeah, so I would think a deep run would be a conference final, right? Conference final or NBA final. That's what it consists. There's no true definition, but that to me is a deep run. J Money, they've got Philly and Phoenix coming up at home. They're next to in Boston. Thunder come to their building. Lakers. Like, this is a good little stretch here for them to maybe figure it out some more, but that's been the story of the Bucks. When will they figure it out? Buy or sell a deep playoff run from Milwaukee?
I think they've had a tough West Coast road trip, went up against some tough teams, but we could still tell that they've playing a lot better basketball when they reach their ceiling, when everything is clicking. As you can see them coming out of the All-Star break, winning 6 straight games and covering all 6 of those games as well, straight out of the All-Star break. So I still buying on the Bucks as long as they got Giannis out there. He's still one of the most unstoppable players in the NBA. The pick and roll with him and Damian Lillard is almost unstoppable. I still think they're the second or third best overall team in the the Eastern Conference as well. I still think that they could possibly make it to the Eastern Conference Finals as well. It doesn't really matter what we see in the regular season. All matters about in the postseason. I know Doc Rivers isn't the best postseason coach, but I still think that they could possibly make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I feel like they're the team that gives the Celtics the most pushback, in my opinion, here. And most of all, I think that they win 8 of their next 11 games and shut up all of their naysayers. So I'm still buying on the Bucks as long as they got Giannis and Dame healthy.
Okay, some fair disagreement. And look, hey, the East is down. So if they really should, at the end of the day, whether you like them or not, they should be in the conference finals. I mean, the East is down and it's injured and they should be there. But if they don't get there, then it's a fail. Let's go back to the Western Conference. D'Angelo Russell, who was a big name at the trade deadline and had that powerful post-game interview. He's like, I didn't really know what was going to happen. He comes out and he's really been balling lately. X factor for the Lakers lately. Matt Moore, D'Angelo Russell is an X factor for the Lakers postseason push, buy or sell.
You want to know how we know that the Bucks are not a real team that you should take seriously, despite everything Jay says? They gave up 44 points to D'Angelo Russell. Oh, wait, is it March already? Oh, we're talking about D'Angelo Russell again, the 6th best player on the 9th best team in the Western Conference. Great. We've done this so many times. How many times are we going to do this? Look, there are 82-game players and there are 16-game players. D'Angelo is a perfectly fine 82-game player. He can come off the bench, give you some points. He'll have nights where he hits a bunch of threes. Congratulations. In the playoffs, it is different, and we've seen it over and over and over again. His on-court impact is actually worse for the Lakers than it was last year. If you look at how the team has performed with him and without him, it's been considerably worse this season. Teams are going to target him. This is the reality. Like, this is what the Nuggets did with Bruce Brown. Like, this is why, like, they clowned him and said, like, they dared it. Like, they openly said, like, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if they can even play him in this series. And they couldn't. Serious teams are going to play him off of the floor. Maybe the Lakers luck out and they get a stretch versus a team in Memphis who had no bigs, or the Warriors who were exhausted after a 7-game series with the Sacramento Kings. But if they face actual serious playoff teams, they're going to target D'Lo and they're going to play him off the floor. D'Lo is a perfectly fine regular season player. He is having a great career. He is a perfectly fine NBA player. He is not a serious NBA postseason contributor. Get out of here with that. We can be serious here.
Jay Money, D'Angelo Russell, is he an X factor for a Lakers postseason push? Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm buying. I do think he's an X factor. When this guy is playing at his offensive ceiling, when he's in his groove and knocking down threes, it's really hard to stop the Lakers, mainly because they have a lot of other weapons as well. And they play really great defense. They just need somebody to pick up the offense. And I really like what they did with Spencer Dinwiddie as well, can kind of hide D'Lo out there as well. But I felt the same way when D'Angelo Russell was in Minnesota as well. They need him to be the greatest the greatest offensive, his greatest offensive self for them to reach their peak. So I'm still buying on D'Lo, and like I say, when he goes crazy in those Lakers games, that's when they really have a great chance to win. And when he's not playing well, that's when they lose. So I think as far as talking about him being the X factor, I am buying on Russell being the big X factor for the Lakers.
You know what I like about that last buy or sell is we're going to get some validation of it tonight. The Lakers are in Sacramento, and they were in a spot where they hosted Sacramento, had a great first quarter last week, and then they plummeted, and they were not great. Lakers are right now the 9. Sacramento Kings are the 7 seed in the West. So they're neck and neck, 2-game gap in the play-in tournament. Jay Money, I'll start with you. You've got the Lakers tonight. Why?
Yeah, I'm rocking with the Lakers here on the money line. As you said, this is a huge game for them. They only sit 2 games back of the Sacramento Kings. So if you do beat them tonight, that gives you a whole game jump on the Kings there. You hand them a loss and you get a win as well. And this is another big spot as well. They had just led the Kings by 17 points at the house in the first quarter and ended up losing that game 130-120. So it's a bounce back J spot. It's a revenge game J spot as well. They've lost all 3 matchups versus the Kings this year. Mm-hmm. Sure, the Kings could beat them all 4 matchups, but I'm willing to bet against that every single time. Anytime a team has beat another team, all 3 of the first matchups, I'm always going to take them in the fourth matchup. It's not going to win every single time, but it's definitely going to win more than 70% of the time. So give me the Lakers here in a triple revenge spot here. They've lost all 3 matchups versus the Kings. I think they get this final one. It's a huge game for playoff implications. Let's go Lakers.
Yeah, a morale thing, but yes, the tiebreakers. Kings have the tiebreaker already with the 3-game lead, but yeah, maybe some morale boost for the Lakers. And hey, maybe D'Angelo Russell plays a part in it, because this is a kind of game where Jay Money is the buy or sell thing comes into play. If Russell's part of a winning formula in a big spot, which is basically a playoff game. Matt Moore, you're looking elsewhere tonight in the NBA. What do you got?
Yeah, let's go back to the well with Pelicans first half. Jay got me on this on buckets, and I've been writing it pretty consistently, and it's awesome. Pelicans are the second best team in the league in the first half behind the Boston Celtics. They're 40-22 ATS first half. What you want to do with this line, though, is you want to wait. Donovan Mitchell is questionable. He's been upgraded from out to questionable. He was questionable last game with a late scratch with that injury he's been dealing with. See if he plays. If he plays, this number drops down, and you can get a better number on the Pelicans. I still like the Pelicans in this spot. First half, they've been so consistent. The Pelicans are really one of the better teams. The Cavs are also in a bad rest spot, so this is an even better spot for them. I like very much the Pelicans first half versus the Cleveland Cavaliers, but wait to make sure you get the best of the number. You can track that in the Action Network app.
2 games since Sunday for Cleveland, played a back-to-back, and now they're on the road in New Orleans, and they do get a couple days before they play Houston on Saturday. Matt Moore, Jay Money, find them on the Buckets podcast and Action Network app, covering all things NBA. Matt Moore, I'm a big fan of your the use of the phone prop. You always bring it with the props, man. It's good.
Just trying to keep things lively here for you, Glash.
Thank you. All right, fellas. Good luck tonight, and thanks for stopping by the show.
Thank you.
If you ever wanted to try the best version of the Action app, that time is now, because we're running, not you, we are running a special offer on Action Pro. To celebrate the start of the NCAA tournament, you can try Pro Access for just $9.99 for the first month. With Action Pro, you get your biggest betting model edges, real-time money percentages, data-driven systems, NCAA tournament player prop projections from the predictive analytics team of Sean Kerner and Nick Giffen, and lots more. Just visit actionnetwork.com/madness to take advantage before this deal expires. That's actionnetwork.com/madness. Okay, we did a little buy or sell with Matt Moore and Jay Money. Let's welcome in Chris Raybon. 9-game slate in the NBA tonight. Chris, and you're stopping by for a few picks. One of yours is a total. Where might we be looking tonight in the association?
Glash, I'm looking at the Magic Nets over 205.5. Now, listen, we know these are slow-paced teams. You're not going to expect a ton of offense, but we're talking about a total that if it closes at this number, it would be the lowest regular season NBA total since February of 2022. So anytime something like that happens, you want to buy at the bottom of the market, right? Just like you want to sell at the top of the market. Well, only a quarter of the Magic games have finished with a number below 208. And that's even with them being, a top 5 defensive team, one of the slowest paced teams in the league. And then for Brooklyn, only 14% of their games have finished below 208. So this number is super, super low. I think it's a little too low. Both teams have not played in a couple of days, so they're well rested. They should be at full strength. And remember, both leading scorers missed that last matchup, which, there was only about 190 points, but no Cam Thomas, no Boncaro. Those guys should be a go. And if you look back, this historically has been a great spot to buy low on a total like this. When you have an over that's a total, I should say, that's 16 points or more below league average, which is about 230. So this is like over 20 points below league average. But when you have that with the home team favored, 63% since 2016, 81, 47, and 3. This year it's happened 28 times. It's cashed 18 of those 28 for a 64% hit rate. So I just think this, it's not going to take much to get over this number. So give me that over in the Nets Magic game, over 205.5. I would play this up to 207.5. I really think it should be on the other side of 208.
Possessions per 48 minutes, Nets 25th, Magic 26th. They are slower paced teams, but Raybon is he's found an edge as to why an over might be the right side. Your next one is a player prop in Bulls Pacers, an in division matchup. What might you be looking at there?
I'm going with Ayo Dosunmu under 5.5 assists, and he's averaging 4.5 as a starter. He does play a lot of minutes, but he's still been under 5.5 in 58% of his games as a starter. However, I think his true odds are even lower than that, because when you look at Indiana, what do? They do not want opponents to take 3-point shots. Well, 3-point shots are the most commonly assisted baskets. So Indiana kind of makes you play more iso ball, makes you work more for your buckets. So you're not seeing as many assists. They're bottom 6 or top 6, I should say, on defense in limiting assists. They're top 2 against backcourts, against both point guards and shooting guards. And Dosunmu, just 3 assists across 43 minutes in 2 prior meetings with the Pacers this season. So if you look at the Fantasy Labs on-off tool, when you have Zach LaVine off, Vucevic, DeRozan, Kobe White on the floor with Dosunmu, he's only averaging about under 3.5 assists per 36 minutes, which he usually plays about 36 to 38 minutes. So I think you're getting quite a bit of value here. I would bet this up to minus 185. I project this to stay under 5.5 about 2/3 of the time.
And the Bulls are also a slow-paced basketball team. So you're just into the slow pace today, Raybon, even though you come in hot and fast most of the time. So Chris
I love
Raybon.
ugly unders, man. I love ugly unders. I gave an over out to start, so I had to get ugly with the second.
All right, Raybon, thanks for stopping by the show.
Always a pleasure.
Okay. Remember, any picks that Chris Raybon gives out, our other contributors to Green Dot Daily, you can easily reference by following Green Dot Daily in the Action Network app. It's exactly how it's spelled, just like the name of the show, Green Dot Daily. Find us there. We keep track, so you do not have to. That is going to conclude our Wednesday program here on Green Dot Daily. I'm Brendan Glasheen. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again Thursday, 3 Eastern, live in the Action app and on the Action Network YouTube channel. Be sure to talk to you then. Enjoy all the basketball going on, everybody, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.